Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition here of COVID Sessions in Rosemead, California. My name is Alejandro de la Torre. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great and having a great day and a blessed evening. We're here today to give you some more information, be informative, be involved. If you guys want to comment on the hashtags, comment all you want. Come in, have a good time. But if you also want to donate to the show, here's our Venmo. We're going to be doing more things. Today we expanded ourselves today a little bit more. We're going to be dealing with education today. It's going to be wonderful. I'm also starting basically a lot of these new little segments where people are going to come in and give us nice, explanations on topics, on different things. A lot of humor that has been coming into the show that's been great. So I want to basically tell you guys more. There's going to be a lot more things coming, but we're going to wait. I have today a great video. Done the editing, it was really well. Interviewing an 8-year-old about education, about how kids feel about going back to school. Conversation has always been based about adults, how they feel. The governments are just basically wanting to send back people to school immediately. But we never really asked the students and the kids. So I actually asked the 8-year-old. The video needs a little work to get the proper sound, so we'll bring you that soon. But today, we're going to talk to a PhD at Cal Poly. Yes, he is my cousin. Yes, he's a PhD. This guy's amazing. He's going to tell us what it's like being a professor in the pandemic age of Rona. So without further ado, let's get Mr. José Manuel.
Hey, what's up, cousin?
How you doing, primo? How's everything going with you?
So far, so good. Just working. Busy summer.
Busy
How's
summer,
everything
huh?
on your end?
My summer hasn't dramatically changed a lot. I have been going to different experiences, learning new things, and let's just say I'm home a lot, being more precautious, and I'm no longer traveling on planes, and kind of a bit of a change. But you get used to it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming on, man. How is everything with you being at work and being a professor? There's a lot of stuff we want to know about the show. We've been trying to get more information here from people. And one of the things that's been happening now, the big topic is going back to school. So obviously colleges are going back to school. There is a big online presence, but there is also the in-class stuff that I think is lacking. So tell us a little bit more about what school you work, what you do. Give us a base on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm an associate professor at Cal Poly Pomona now. And I teach courses in ethnic studies and in education. So a lot of what I do actually is constantly talking about early childhood education, elementary, middle school, high school, and also higher education. So, I teach courses in where we talk about like teaching methods and pedagogy and how do we involve students in a meaningful way. And right now, like most people are around the globe, we're learning about how to do this now on digital platforms like the one that you're using right now, and how to make sure that we continue to learn, right? Especially our students, but even us as instructors, we're learning a lot. We're learning a lot, and there's luckily a lot of information out there and people that are willing to share, techniques and resources and stuff. So that's what I've been doing this summer is kind of like trying to figure out what's going to happen come fall, what's going to happen come spring.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of classes are online. You're absolutely right on that.
So what do you actually think about the concept of online teaching? I mean, you come from a teaching of in class, in your face. Now you have this platform. Like I've seen online classes, okay? It's quite interesting to see all the faces, and you've also done these Zoom parties and these online platforms where you get a lot of people on there at once. Now, a curriculum being taught, that kind of stuff, I'm pretty sure that's a pain in the butt. So what do you think about online school?
Gosh, before all of this happened, I was already meddling a little bit with the online stuff, if you will. We already had Zoom at Cal Poly Pomona. We had, if a lot of you have been to college, you've probably heard of either Blackboard or Canvas or Moodle. So we had some online things that already existed. But you're right, we hadn't completely shifted to do classes, completely through this platform. So, I'm going to be honest. Personally, I don't love it 100%. I don't love teaching in this way because there's something about the the face-to-face, the human element
Yeah.
that brings, conversations alive, and you could
The
relate to
engaging.
people,
Yeah.
the engagement, right? But I will tell you though that I do trust science, and I do believe my colleagues that have been studying this as their career, and I know that this is the best option right now because
Yeah.
we don't have a great track record. We don't. So schools don't exist in a bubble. They're in society, and we need to master, if you will, or learn how to make use of these platforms
Yes.
to make sure that at least our students are getting and as much of an education as they can in their homes, or sometimes in their cars, right? Trying to get away,
on the
from the
iPad,
house,
on the iPad, just chilling, pushing the
and
buttons and
and
shit.
and people are doing what they have to do, right?
All right. So let me ask you a question. So, what are the main issues you face, like as a teacher, as a professor, right now
Mm.
in a college setting? Now, kids have an attention span. That's one thing, and then you got the attention span of adult. Like, what is one of the things that probably bothers you the most with this online curriculum?
Honestly, I'm going to be incredibly selfish and just say that the part that's the hardest for me is that what a lot of people have been calling like Zoom exhaustion, because a lot of us in higher education are using Zoom, right? That's like
Zoom
the platform that
exhaustion.
Zoom exhaustion. And it's basically this idea that you're staring at
At a fucking
all these
sorry, I'm cussing. At a
faces
computer all day. Yeah.
all day, whether it be your students, my master's or doctoral students, my
Yeah.
advisees, my undergrads, but also my colleagues, right? So my
Wow.
colleagues. So by the end of the I don't know, fourth hour, at the end of the fourth meeting, you're just feeling like I just saw these people like on these little squares all over my screen, but I'm at home,
Yeah.
and there's a pandemic happening, and there's all this information that's being debated online and on social media around
Yes.
what are the best things to do. So for me, it's just like I'm exhausted, and for a while, it was more work, because imagine being, if you will, ripped out of your home office, like we were told you can't come to campus anymore, and
What?
then you're at home and you're like, how in the world am I going to teach, four classes, uh, do my research and do everything when I already had everything set up in my office? So we start, makeshift offices. Your dining table becomes where you're teaching from, and all these different sort of things that were hard. So I think on the body it was hard, and I know a lot of colleagues I have that are also parents.
Right.
That exhaustion is on a whole nother level.
I can only imagine how much. Like one of the things I've been looking, because I'm trying to look up things to give you information to talk about, and one of the things I was talking about just to a parent alone is you become the teacher, and how exhausting it is
Yeah.
for the teacher. For now, you are a parent, you gotta do what you gotta do to make money, break bread, everything else, and now you have to teach. So the
Yeah.
parents are also in a position where they have to learn something to basically become like what I call a tutor, because you're basically tutoring
Yeah.
these kids.
Oh
And
yeah.
and that takes its toll. There's no in class personal touch. There's no friends things. Again, in
Yep.
the video with her, that's some of the stuff she's explaining. We'll present that on Tuesday. I wanted to climb in here, but the video doesn't sink in, so you're not hearing it. So I have to download and do all this. Yeah, it takes all kinds of shit to do. But other than that, let's move on to the next question, because one of the other questions that I have for you is, now, being that colleges are very expensive, there's a lot of issues with that, and I know you guys in the universities deal with this all the time. Do you think the students should be paying the same price, or should they be dropping the price a little bit?
That is such a great question, and I'm gonna again, totally the way I think about this. Um, as a person that values education and that values public education, so as we're the children of immigrants, right? Yeah,
Yep.
you and I, as a lot of other people and
First gen.
friends and family members that we have, first generation college students.
Yep.
I really value public education, and one of the things that I struggled with even before COVID was the rising cost of higher education. So I have a problem with higher education, public higher education, being so expensive, even before COVID.
Oh yeah.
So I think that, it would make sense for, politicians to invest in the future of this nation, especially during this pandemic, and to consider figuring out ways to financially support public education and public higher education, especially to make sure that we don't fall behind as a nation, that we get the teachers trained,
Right.
the bankers trained, right? Like all the folks, all the doctors trained, everyone. We need everyone trained. And those people go through our schools. They go through higher education. So we need
Right.
those financed, and we needed them financed before COVID. But the question of now, right, especially in terms of online education and the impact of online education, I think it's a tricky one, and I think I'm gonna be honest again. I've been a student, and I've had classes that were face to face where I wanted a refund because the professor
Yeah,
sucked.
because it's
I'm gonna be frank.
yeah, like come on, that's one of the things that I've seen. Like it's on this platform, this kind of way of engaging, it's a whole different thing than the person in front of you. So if imagine if you're a teacher who's not very charismatic in person, translate this to online. Damn, like I can
Yeah,
understand that higher education
yeah,
with the
I
big
get it.
cost of like come on, it's so expensive, but should they be changing that? That's a big question, and I'm glad to hear
Yeah,
your opinion on that because a
yeah.
lot of the times you guys as teachers, if they're not making money, they'll either fire you or reduce your salary. Correct?
Well, it's interesting because I'm in the California State University system, so we have contracts and
Right.
unions and administration, right, that
Got it.
collaborate to ensure that our students get the best education. And I am going to tell you that I'm very proud to be part of the California State University. That isn't
Nice.
perfect. It isn't perfect, but it's definitely
I'm a graduate of that system.
but it was the first system that
Right.
understood the severity of the pandemic and that said we're going online. So it gave us as faculty in the California State University system, we knew what was going to
Yep.
happen months ago, where we still have colleagues at other universities in other states
To figure
that
barely figuring it out. Yeah.
they have no clue what's going to happen come the beginning of the fall semester. So it's tricky, and it's messy, right? Because we have these personal opinions, but there's a lot of work that happens behind closed doors. And now, as a faculty member, I understand that differently now. So the question of should students get refunded, right, for online education is so difficult because I know there are faculty that are working
Right.
110, 120% to make sure that students get a good education online. And I also know that there's faculty that are not, and they didn't when they were even face to face. So it gets complicated. It gets complicated to me.
Damn. Okay, that's very good. Very good. This question is kind of connected to this too, because you see, there's a lot of international students who are having problems. They have
Hmm.
the visa
Yeah.
issues. They have a lot of stuff. I know.
Hmm.
I know the dance community. There's a lot of out of towners or people who are from different nations that are here in school. They dance, and some of them had the issues about going back. What do you think about that? I think it's the HB1 visa for. I'm not particularly sure which one it is,
Yeah.
but I know that was a big controversial topic. Talked a lot about the funding that schools get with international students. I mean, what's your approach on that?
Well, I'll tell you this much from some committees that I've sat on at Cal Poly Pomona. It's my understanding that ever since 2016, so since the election year, um, our international student population has decreased year by year,
Right.
and
Oh man.
I'm concerned because international students bring a perspective to our universities and to our classrooms that are incredibly valuable. So as an educator, I want international students in my classroom because oftentimes, especially for first generation working class students, that is the window of opportunity to learn about what education looks like, let's say in a province in another country.
Yeah,
And
that's
I think
true.
that that's important, that our
Yeah.
students learn from international, US students learn from international students. So I wish, politics weren't as messy as they were right now, and that international students were being treated more fairly and equitably, not just by our universities, but also by our politicians. That they be
Wow.
considered as valuable assets. We have a lot to learn from each other, and I've had several international students I've worked with that are amazing, and we learn a lot from each other.
Well, they come here to stay and to work, and they want to transition with visas, so they obviously want to come here and pay taxes. I completely agree with you. There is a bad transitional phase from international students. I remember dealing with people before with this, very close friends of mine, even people who I was connected with, that once they finished college, it was like, what's the next move? I got to find a job. I have a limited amount of time to get a job, or else I got to go. And they get put in that threshold, and I think that's pretty terrible for them, especially when they come here and spend a lot of money in these schools. Let's just be realistic about that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. It's super
Yeah.
expensive. And my next question is kind of related into cost of things. I know there's also a big funding issue going on right now, and how much you guys are getting especially during these pandemics and during these things. And I know a little bit more about elementary schools and how they set up the kids. There's a lot of stuff that they set up for their meals, for their equipment. What do they do for colleges?
Are you talking about like how faculty get paid,
Or
or
yeah,
like
like
how
in all senses, like how did they help you guys? Because I have no idea
Yeah.
about that. I'm not in college anymore. I would love to go back. It's super expensive. So now these guys who are going, like, do they help the students with like laptops, the books? This is what they do for elementary. In college, do they do anything like that for you?
That's a great question. We, as faculty that are full time, had the now it feels like a luxury, but it's actually a necessity to have the technology, right? So to have a computer.
So they give you
Um,
guys the computers?
so when we get hired as full time faculty, we get a computer as part of our
Oh,
contract.
cool. Awesome.
Now, who doesn't? And in an area of growth is our part-time lecturers that often do not get those
Oh,
resources. So I know that when the quarantine started, I'm very blessed. Again, at Cal Poly Pomona, I have praises to sing because in the middle of everything kind of spiraling really quickly,
right.
people started studying, kind of taking it on, and we started hearing about the deans and
Right.
administrators. A lot of them, some of them who are first generation themselves and have been promoted up into these positions, who started utilizing like, hey, we have a room over there full of computers. Lecturers need computers. Let's go. Like, let's figure out a way to get these out. We have iPads that are sitting over there for this program that can't happen anymore. We could lend those out or rent them out for free, of course, to our students to make sure that they finish. So we gave out
Nice.
hotspots and those sorts of things, but they were limited, right? So it
Okay,
wasn't like
yeah.
accessible to everyone. So it wasn't enough.
Right. So
It
that's
wasn't
an
enough.
issue. That's an issue that they gotta face, right? It's like I need to get. What about the books? Same thing. Like you have to get the books too, right?
Yeah. So we've been changing a lot in higher education, where we've been promoting the idea of the library having access, or buying the subscription to a publishing house, for example. So then students could access, as part of their tuition fees, access to these textbooks at a lower rate. Now, that's not going to cover everything.
Oh.
There are some courses that require a specific textbook based on curriculum that is going to cost a lot of money. So the bookstore has responded in very good ways. They've figured out ways to, you could rent the book for the semester instead of buying it, if that's your choice, to save some money. So there's some responses, but you're right. You're totally capturing the fact that
I
public
remember all
higher
that.
education needs more funds.
I
And in the
remember
middle of this
all. I
pandemic,
remember
we need
all of
more.
that. Parking
Yep.
passes, books.
Parking.
Feed yourself. Okay, that's one thing. You gotta eat when you're there. Supplies
Yep.
on your own. And if you didn't have access to a laptop or technology, back when we used to go to the in-class things, you needed, at least pens and papers, different things like that.
Oh,
But
yeah,
once you
yeah.
got done, you still needed technology to learn how to write your papers, print them, source them, all that stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure it's a lot easier to write like an essay online. Like that's probably not as well. You can just use your basic email with your Google Drives. I'm pretty sure those kind of editing softwares are not that difficult. But I know there's other things that really can't be done. I'm pretty sure for instance, this is related into what I do. Like those dance departments, those guys are probably
Yeah.
screwed. It's physical. Are dance departments still doing classes? That's a good question. I don't even know if any dance teachers in college. What are you doing? Because I know departments like yourselves that are lecture based probably have a different outlook on these things too.
Yeah.
So that's probably a different thing. So I guess let me ask you my next question. What do you think the future of education is going to look like after the Rona? What do you think it's going to become?
It's going to be a lot more digital. That much we know, and it's from textbooks to meetings. I think that we're going to have to embrace the digital, but I'm very hopeful that we are able to safely return to classrooms, because there's something about, again, that human connection and that human element that is often missing in the online platform. So I look forward to that, and I agree. I have colleagues in theater. My good friend, Dr.
Artistry,
Jesse
bro.
Vallejo, is a professor in the music department at Cal Poly Pomona, and she also, among her many hats, runs the mariachi at Cal Poly Pomona. And I know that when they moved online, they had to figure out bandwidth and all these different things so that they could rehearse from home. Right. So there are all these different things that we're trying and that we are literally kind of, messing with. And like, it didn't work this time.
Learning new
It's
things,
okay.
Bro.
Well, our motto at Cal Poly Pomona is we learn by doing. Right. So we're literally doing that right now.
I like that one.
Learning by doing.
That's really good. But I mean, that is essentially what you do in learning. You have to try, fail.
You have to try. You have to try.
What was it? The light bulb? Was it Edison or something like that? He failed 10,000 something times, but that one time he got it. So I mean, at the end of the day,
you have to keep going.
You got to keep going. So that's pretty awesome, man. Like, I'm basically out of questions to ask you. I try to really hit what it feels like to be back for the students, and I know that a lot of the times professors have to bear the weight on this too. So I guess thanks so much for your time, bro. That was awesome, dude.
No, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. And congrats for all these shows you're doing, and it's so good to see you.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to keep busy, bro, and I noticed this platform is really working, and people want to be up informed, and I guess I have a reach to be able to do this enough to help people, and I wanted to approach this educational factor thing in a different way, and we've done educators from some schools, but you're the first guy from the university, so thank you so much, bro.
Thank you. All right.
All right, have a good one, bro. You have a great night. That's really cool, guys. I know a lot of you guys who are going back to school right now. You guys are dealing with deciding what you're going to do with your college futures. College is a very, very tough decision right now, especially with the stuff you have to focus with. I know everything can't be all dancing and everything can't be all fun and games, but right now in the age of Rona, we were going to have to decide what will be going on. And to answer one of your questions, they're going back to digital. The whole year for California is going to be online. So you have to be aware of that. Contact your colleges to find out what you're going to be doing, universities. Guys, find out how much those books are going to cost you, because that's going to be a pain in the butt. So, back to ending now. We're going to have a little final thought, and I want to share something with you guys. Now, as you guys know, we are coming up to the election season now, so there is a couple of things you should be aware of to vote and coming up to different perspectives. And one of the things I want to joke around with first is Mr. Kanye running for office as a deployment to basically take votes away from Biden. Now, this dude has actually gone on Twitter and on online texting interviews to say that that's kind of was his objective, is to spoil and hurt Biden. So now this is kind of fucked up, because this is basically something that is being done by the Republican Party to basically sway votes away. Why? It's because Biden has a very, very high standing with black voters based off of his time with Obama. Let's be very forward. But, Trump doesn't. So how to do this is basically getting people to vote for Kanye in certain states versus Biden. Now, if you guys skim down this article, we'll put it down later. Some of the things that they're trying to do is basically get Kanye on the ballot in these different states that are able to give him the vote. So now he talks about having meetings with Betsy DeVos, the lady who runs the education system now, and talking about different curriculums that he wants to get involved in. I don't know about you. If you want Kanye educating your kids, that would be hilarious. So, next topic, final topic. California apparently right now, guys, is going insane in the southeast areas of LA and basically going down the 10 towards the east. This is kind of in the direction towards me. It started heavily in the west side, and now there's new information. An LA Times, interesting article if you guys want to check it out. That is basically sharing this now. This is basically the new epicenter of the city. So southeast LA, that consists of like Southgate, Cudahy, different things. It's big, especially in the working class communities that are Latinos. Now, why does this happen? Because Latinos are basically people who don't have a lot of cash at times because they immigrate from different places, or just general income is different in comparison to affluent neighborhoods that have more money, where they can, afford not to go to work, where most people can't. So if you notice right here in cities like Maywood, Huntington Park, Southgate, Cudahy, and Linwood, you guys are being hit really hard. I know there's a lot of frontline workers right there who are working in different community places. You guys work in different households, you have to be really careful with what's going on. But just mind that, people. I hope this is a really good information to share right here. If you want to check it out, it's in LA Times. It'll tell you specifically what's going on with everything else. Other than that, just do what you got to do. Everyone is used to this by now. So next week we're going to have more artists, really cool music. Next week we're actually going to have different artists who are coming in from Riverside. We got an author who is a salsa dancer and has this nice, amazing salsa book that's going to be really cool. And we have bachateros, great music lined up. Today was very cool. Thank you for the educational person. I will be showing you next Tuesday, however, the interview with the 8-year-old that was supposed to be a continued segment upon this. We're going to ask the kid what she feels like in going back to school. I have it all interviewed, but I need to figure out the audio later. So I'm out. Peace out.